everybody, and welcome to the Speed World Challenge. Today we start with the ACS Grand Prix of Long Beach, presented by Lala Motorsports. That's GT competition, but we're going from shore to shore. Later we'll be going to the shores of New Jersey for touring car racing. But first, a new development of World Challenge is the coin toss after qualifying. Pole sitter gets to call it. If he gets it right, grid remains unchanged. If not, top five invert. Let's get down to official starter Ken Silva with the call.
We're going to flip the coin. We're going to see what happens. Randy, if you call it in the air.
Heads.
Tails.
Oh man, you know what, this is how racing is. It's good when it's good and it's bad when it's bad. But you know the guy that's going to be on the pole now is Mike Davis, right? Mike, come here. He's lucky, and you know why he's lucky? Because he's helping us run this race this weekend. ACS, his company, is sponsoring the race weekend along with Lala Motorsports. And without you, we couldn't be here, Mike.
Well, listen,
so
Randy,
you got the pole now, babe. You deserve it.
Yeah, and that car is really wide.
All right, well, that was the development with the coin toss. Now we're going to go on board with Randy Popst in that beautiful K-Pax Volvo for a lap of this great track. Tom Natchu, take us around.
Well, here in turn number one, obviously the best passing zone at Long Beach, but the track itself is characterized as a very difficult place to race. You know, they say that racing is defined by the limits. Here, the limits are defined for you in concrete. Here's another great passing zone down into this left-hander, and then we go onto the back straightaway. Another great passing zone coming up here on the right-hander, and then we get into another signature place for Long Beach, which is the hairpin. The feature of the track, of course, this long straightaway. As fast as these World Challenge GT cars can go, they will be going as they head down into turn one. That is a lap of Long Beach.
And getting out of that hairpin is key for that run down into the first turn. Let's take a look at our starting grid. Remember the inversion. As a result, fifth qualifier, Mike Davis on pole. Top five are inverted. And Randy Popst will start fifth, but he does get his 25th career pole. Take a look at the rest of the field. Eric Kern, somebody to certainly keep an eye on. Really, Long Beach the last 2 years has mirrored his seasons. Win in 07, DNF failure in 08. That's kind of how it's been for Kern. But a second at the season opener at Sebring, looking for a strong points run here.
And it's a hometown race for two teams, the ACS team and the Global Motorsports Group team. And they're represented at the front of the grid. We'll be back with the start after this.
Welcome back to Long Beach. Greg Creamer along with Tom Natchu, and it is time to go racing. When the red lights go out, we go green. Standing start, and GT is underway. What a move by Andy Pilgrim in the middle. And Randy Popst, the number one K-Pax Volvo, tried to go his left and squeezed through, but as you talked about it, Tom, those concrete canyons kind of define his limit right there. And Sofronis in the Global Motorsports Group Porsche takes a look. Davis shuts the door into turn one, and we are 2 by 2 through turn one. Nicely done.
As predicted, that ACS Mustang just a little wider than normal as he protects that line. This is a two-car team, and they're bracketing James Sofronis. Three California guys up front.
Remember, those Volvos all-wheel drive and almost were able to find the gap. But Davis, Mike Davis, the dad, what a great story there, leads it. Sofronis second. Mike's son, Brandon, who won from pole flag to flag last year, tucks into third. Then one of those beautiful K-Pax Volvos, now up into fourth. But for Mike Davis, what a moment for him. And Brandon takes a look on the outside. Boy, it's tough to make that kind of a move here at Long Beach, and tucks right back in.
You know, Mike Davis earlier said that he's probably done more laps personally than the rest of the field have done here at Long Beach. Running in Trans Am for so many years, Mike Davis definitely knows his way around. And from the pole, he's shown that he can drive away, while James Sofronis is a little bit preoccupied with his son, Brandon.
Well, Mike and Brandon topped the charts in practice, so Mike being up front here is really no fluke. Yes, there was the coin toss inversion, but he was quick from the drop of the first green here out of that hairpin. First lap complete, and down the front straight we go. And Davis, the power of that big ACS Sun Microsystems Mustang, you could see him pull away from the Global Motorsports Group Porsche. And Brandon Davis in third, hunting for a way to get through. But right now, Tom, let's go on board with Pilgrim for the start.
Now, he makes a conscious decision here. He could have driven through there, but why start a wreck the first 300 feet of the race? But that decision costs him. He loses momentum, and you can see Brandon Davis goes on by. Even his teammate is able to get a little bit of jump. Remember, these Volvos are all-wheel drive. Andy Pilgrim had an opportunity to lead, but he decided not to do it. I think that was wise, Greg.
Well, and as you point out, even with big horsepower, as these GT cars have, momentum, still everything. And big move here. Oh, Safronis, what a great move. Last second, just dove to the inside, ducked down underneath Mike Davis. Now Davis trying to come back. They are side by side, heading up into turn 8, but not going to work. And Safronis makes it stick. And also notice the orange number 97, the Taxmasters Porsche from Kelly Moss Racing of Sebring winner Tony Rivera has picked up a spot, moves into 4th. Mike Davis again takes the look, but those Porsches pretty good on brakes, and Safronis able to get in a little bit deeper and make it stick as we hop on board with Brandon Davis.
Now the big worry here is what's going to happen on Shoreline Drive in this big straightaway. Is James Safronis going to be able to hold off these two much more powerful Mustangs? We'll find out right now.
Well, it's sort of a little bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, isn't it? The Porsche, with the weight and the engine over the drive wheels, gets good launch out of the slow corners, as the hairpin is. But at the end of that long straight, the big thumping power of the Mustangs come into play, and you can see Safronis, Tom, being a little bit defensive.
That takes the middle line through the corner. It's a little bit slower, but he protects his position, Greg.
And Eric Curran starting to work over Randy Popes. Right there, you get a look at that battle. That red and white Whelen Corvette, pretty relentless. We hop on board with David Welch and dives to the inside of Rob Morgan. Big hit into the barriers in turn 1, and that is going to be a full course caution. And we thought that might be a good moment to visit with Mike Davis, a proud dad.
Every time I look at him, I see that 4 or 5 year old that just loved to play with cars, and then at 8 years old we got him in go-karts, and he's evolved. And you know, as a dad, I'm so proud of him, and every time I see him, you know, he looks like a grown man, but all I see is my little boy out there becoming a man and being a race car driver, and I'm just so proud of him. And just, you know, the special events that we have like this, where we can do a father-son event, and I don't know how long we can do it, but it means so much to me as far as overall life experience.
Well, that has got to be incredibly special. Now, here's another look at the incident. Welsh getting into Morgan's Porsche. We are under full course caution. We asked Brandon to compare last year and this year.
The car itself is probably actually not as quick. We got some restrictor and some weight since that race a year ago. But I think I'm more comfortable as a driver in the car. At this point last year, I had been with Real Time for the past 3 years and hadn't been back in these type of cars for a while. So I think I'm a lot more comfortable here, and it feels a lot more like putting on an old shoe when we show up to this track this year.
Well, that's got to concern the competition a little bit, considering what he did last year, and now he's got that experience at this track. But we are under full course caution. Tom Safronis leads it, but those two Mustangs are lurking.
You know, they're very determined guys, and naturally they've got 300 guests here from their company, all their families here. They're sleeping in their own beds, but so is James Safronis. He's also got a couple of hundred guests here.
And in all the years he's run here, never outside of the top 10, but never got that hometown win. Boy, is he hoping. We'll find out if he can pull it off when we come back to Long Beach. Currently, under a full course caution, there's a look at the leaderboard. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Long Beach. We go right back to green for the restart. Because of the concrete here, they elected, the officials, I think, wisely not to do the double file restart. That and the fact you're coming out of that hairpin. And look at Brandon Davis trying the outside on Safronis down into turn 1. And again, just not quite enough. Safronis doing a beautiful job and hangs on to the lead. Davis and Davis, second and third. Then Eric Curran, fourth, and really heaping the pressure on. There's the orange Taxmasters Porsche of your Sebring winner, Tony Rivera, complete the top 5. And watch the rest of the field come through this very tight, they call it the fountain turn, and then the exit back up to the lead. Safronis and Brandon Davis, that's as close as it can get. Then another incredibly close battle for third time.
You know, this is a Mustang and Corvette battle. Eric Curran definitely has designs on getting up into the front. Now he's got to deal with Mike Davis, and does it as he goes through in third place. Mike Davis, not quite done, gets a better shot off the corner. He's right there too.
And you can see Curran goes a bit defensive, a classic case of fast in, slow out. He's straight line to the apex, and it really cost him a little bit on the exit, but a nice move to the inside, and he fends off the re-attack, if you will, of Mike Davis. Let's go on board, Tom. Take a look at that pass from Curran's perspective.
And he's got him lined up here, and Mike Davis has got himself lined up for the corner, and Eric Curran just leaves his braking a little bit late. And that's why Mike Davis is able to catch up, because Curran got through that corner slower, but really made up the position, and that's all that counts.
Made it stick, but that little bit, just that little bit of pass and repass attempt, look at the gap. Safronis now and Brandon Davis have been able to open up here. as they start to drive away, but we hop on board with Randy Popes, and he is dropping down through the order, and the report, Tom, is shifting issues, gearbox problem.
It's one of the critical systems in these World Challenge cars. Most of them are running the sequential gearboxes. But if you look at where the K-Pax team was when they were at Sebring in a test session and where they are now, it's worlds apart, Greg Kramer.
Well, Andy Pilgrim, after qualifying here, made the comment. He said, I've raced for some absolute top-tier factory teams, and he said these K-Pax boys have pulled off some amazing stuff since that Sebring opener. So kudos to them, certainly. Back up front, Safronis and Brandon Davis, the Porsche and that Mustang are absolutely at war right now, and they've got that little bit of a break, but look who's starting to edge back into it. Eric Kern in the Wheeling Corvette. Meanwhile, let's go back, the 99. That is the Kenda Tires Viper from Woodhouse Performance of Jeff Courtney, and he is really putting pressure on Rich Marziali in that all-cut concrete cutting blue Viper, not able to get the job done there, but you can see a little wiggle from Marziali, and that may have been enough, Tom.
You know, side by side, they go down into this corner. Rich Marzial, a renewed driver for 09. He has really gotten into shape, and he proves that he can race at the front with these World Challenge guys. Brilliant drive from Rich Marzial, and there's a very determined Jeff Courtney trying to deal with him.
Well, remember, Marzial had that problem at Sebring where he ended up parked, so he'd definitely like to be able to finish this one and do well. Meanwhile, the top three is closing up, and Kern has reeled in both Safronis and Davis as they head down into the Fountain Complex. So that red and white Wheeling Corvette, Porsche, Mustang, Corvette, World Challenge GT at its best, and what a battle we have. But now traffic. Safronis is going to have to deal with that element.
David Welsh in that number 13 Woodhouse Performance Viper basically pulls out of the way, doesn't want to be a part of this. Greg, look at the distance that these three guys have pulled out over the rest of the field.
Just an incredible run for these three, and for Welch, it's a class move there. It's his first season of racing in some 4 years, particularly at the pro level, but he was awfully good. You can see some damage to that car, so he's doing the right thing, just getting out of everybody's way. Meanwhile, here comes that second group, and there's the number 5 of Daskalos, right behind the Taxmasters Porsche, and the Porsche taking a look at the inside of Mike Davis. And you know what? That's the same place that Kern made his pass, and Daskalos gets a good run. Is he going to be able to sneak by as well? This time Mike Davis defends. That's not just defense. He is going for that repass again, trying to get down inside Rivera, and he does. But you wonder about Mike Davis leaving that door open, and look at Daskalos. There's contact, and they hit again.
Daskalos and Tony Rivera side-by-side racing. There was a touch, but not much of a touch, and they continue going. All three of these guys doing a brilliant job. This is why they call this among the best GT series for sprint format in the world, Greg.
Oh, without a question, and keep in mind that white and black Daskalos Development Viper of Jason Daskalos last year here at Long Beach was his breakout race, many people felt. He got a 5th. It was his career best at that point, and he has been a front runner ever since, and he is mixing it up with some pretty serious competition right now. Keep in mind, Rivera, that Taxmasters Porsche, the win at Sebring in his debut World Challenge race, and as you pointed out, Tom, few people have more experience on the streets of Long Beach than Mike Davis.
You know, Mike Davis does a good job here, but it's getting kind of tiring for him to get past all the time. Now he's got an opportunity to finish up 4th, and he's going to defend that position fiercely. There's a look at Bill Ziegler, and there is what Long Beach can do to you if you're not paying attention. And there's the lone guy clapping his hands. Last thing you want to hear right after you spun.
It's a tough one for Ziegler in that Global Motorsports Group Swisher Racing Porsche, but he was the Sunoco Hard Charger at Sebring. 9 positions he moved up, and he's a newbie to the series, a true rookie. Great job there, and Long Beach will bite you.
You know, it's a really great job. He kept it off the wall, or did he? Or did he just get lucky? Either way, Bill Ziegler is going to live to race another day in that beautiful GT3 Porsche. You know, Global Motorsports Group designates these cars WC GT3s for World Challenge, have a whole line of Porsche parts. Bill Ziegler is just one car on a really excellent team that happens to be leading this show right now, Greg.
Absolutely. James Safronis, as we get a good look at Brandon Davis and that ACS Sun Microsystems Mustang. But that GMG company of Safronis, located very close to Long Beach, and they are really considered one of the West Coast top Porsche aftermarket tuners, and they do a lot of development work, and a lot of the development comes in parts they try on their cars in World Challenge. But right now the trying thing is that black Mustang and Safronis' mirrors.
You know, Brandon Davis is split between two focuses here. He's trying to get a solution to James Sofronis. He's got to be very conscious of the fact that Eric Curran is right there, and he's trying to get by him as well. So a very, very tough position right now for Brandon Davis in the 10 car.
And for Dad in the number 11, he's in the same scenario in many ways with Rivera right behind him. That's 4th, 5th, and right behind them, Daskalos in that Viper. And then you see Andy Pilgrim behind them. Oh, and a bit of damage here on the number 36 of Wes Hoagland. Wisely takes it into the runoff area.
That's one of the Porsche GT3 Cup shootout cars. You know, these guys have come out to join us here at Long Beach with the World Challenge. They have their own series, but World Challenge has made it available to them to come and race here at the beach. We've got 5 of them. They're all doing a great job.
Gives them a little extra recognition if you finish in the highest of those shootout class cars. And right now, Craig Stanton, a Long Beach native, holds sway. Welcome back to the Roar by the Shore, and it is on. The battle for 4th here in the second round of the Speed GT Championship for Speed World Challenge. Rivera in the Taxmasters Porsche, and Davis, the ACS Sun Microsystems Mustang, again takes a look down to the inside. Those two have been swapping that spot back and forth. Jason Daskalos in the Daskalos Developments Viper just sits and watches, but look who's coming up behind him. That is a Capex Volvo that is booking.
Last lap, he just made the fastest lap of the race, Greg, in that Volvo. They're starting to get the hang of it, and stacked up in the hairpin, we've got 4 different manufacturers all going for 4th place. Excuse me, but is this insane or what?
Incredible racing right now, and Pilgrim, obviously the all-wheel drive as this race goes on and on and on after all of the different events that have run this weekend. The track slicks up just a little bit, but you can see in a straight line, that car obviously running the smallest motor in this category, even though it's a turbo. Not quite there, but boy, you get him in the twisty bits, and he is all over the back of these guys. What an incredible scrum we have now, and Davis hanging on. Meanwhile, oh, Brandon Davis, that was second spot, a big bobble, and Eric Curran may have just been able to sneak by and pick up second spot. The question is, where is Davis? Oh, and he comes right back through, repass, but then he floats wide. Curran saw it coming. He just stayed out a little wide and squares up underneath. Folks, it's a drag race down into turn 9, all on the brakes, both cars dancing. Curran, the inside, and hangs onto it. What an incredible sequence. Pass, repass, repass again, and Curran now in second, and Sofronis right in front, right behind a huge clump of traffic. Boy, could this play into this battle for second and take it right back in to the battle for the lead. Meanwhile, Jason Daskalos has found an opening and wedged that big Viper right past and has picked up that 5th spot. Unbelievable.
Yeah, Jason Daskalos right in the mix of these things. In fact, all 4 of these guys so evenly matched. As you mentioned before, the Volvo doesn't have it on the straightaway, but it does have the fastest lap. How fast is that car in the corners? What a battle for 4th place here at Long Beach.
And Sofronis right now, that Global Motorsports Group Porsche, boy, I'll tell you, he must be licking his chops right now at the prospect of a win on his home track. But he's also got to be very nervous. But he does have the buffer, one of those GT3 Cup shootout cars in between he and now Eric Curran in second. And Eric Curran is a relentless talent. And if he's got any opportunity, but he's still stuck behind that car, Tom.
You know, very difficult to pass no matter what you're passing. If a guy, a vagrant with a shopping cart was on this course right now, you're not going to be able to get by him in certain parts of this course.
Well, none entered this weekend, so I think we're okay. But meanwhile, Davis is being hounded now by Jason Daskalos and Rivera and Pilgrim. Boy, this group is still at war. And look at the move there. Daskalos really tried to open up that corner, Tom, get a little bit better drive off. Pilgrim trying to do the same. Rivera now comes to the inside, and Rivera was going to use that car as a pick, and it worked the other way, and Pilgrim comes knifing through. What a move by Andy Pilgrim.
I don't know. I think that Rivera actually made a decision there. He could have used that car for a pick. He chose not to. He chose to let Andy go through. That is a class move by Tony Rivera.
Well, and Tony very much enjoying close quarters racing, knowing that if you've got a spot on the track, somebody's not going to drive right into you, as he's experienced in the past. And I think he's showing a little bit, giving some of that back, if you will, and everybody's benefiting from it. Meanwhile, Sofronis out front. Boy, I tell you what a great moment for this driver, for this team, if they can pull it off here at home.
Steve Ruiz, the lead engineer on this GMG Motorsports team, and also the top executive at Stop Tech Brakes, is standing in pit lane. His heart has got to be racing because these guys came here, Greg, to win. They didn't sit on the pole. They wanted to, but they got the job done. James Safranis got to be one happy guy sitting in that number 14 WC GT3 Cup car.
And if you notice that he's got a bit of a margin, is he backing off? You also saw that car bouncing and sliding. He is still absolutely on the edge. He knows one let up, one little lapse of concentration, and you've got Kern and Davis and the likes right adrift. So he is giving it his all right now. I think he's got a great rhythm right now, Tom, and that is exactly what's working for him.
You talk to guys when they come off the sessions here for practice and qualifying. What'd you think of Long Beach? Every single one of them say, you know, this is a lot of fun, and there is a man who's having fun. Checkered flag at the start-finish line. James Safranis wins his hometown race at Long Beach, California.
Meanwhile, back to this battle for fourth. Davis still holding on, but Pilgrim has been able to move up. Into the hairpin. Oh, and Davis parks it. Pilgrim gets into the back of him. Daskalos comes down underneath. It is a drag race. Volvo, Viper. Davis has the spot, and Daskalos is able to edge ahead. Picks up the 5th spot. Unbelievable run. Wow. Up front, battle for 4th throughout the field. Incredible racing. And for James Safranis and Global Motorsports Group, they've done it.
A well-deserved victory lap for the driver of that number 14 WC GT3 Cup car, James Safranis. They've got a lot of guests. Their entire staff and family are here. They're all going down to Victory Circle.
Well, it feels amazing. You can see here we got the whole family from GMG. Got my beautiful wife here. It's due in 3 months. So I got my brother. I mean, hometown race. We had GMG all over the place, supportive fans. I mean, this is the race that we wanted to win. And coming here, you know, 45 minutes away and winning this in front of all the guys that support this program all year and put the best effort in, it's amazing. And I'm just so excited. And I can't forget to mention that the Stop Tech brakes on this car were unbelievable. That was the difference in this race.
Just an incredible celebration, one they have waited for so long. Here are the unofficial results. Safranis, Kern, and Davis on the podium, but Davis, Daskalos, Pilgrim, Rivera, an unbelievable battle. Another great drive up through the pack by Tony Gaples. Let's take a look at the points. Kern with 2 seconds now leads the points. We're also going to take a look at the manufacturer's points, and when we come back, we go across the country to New Jersey Motorsports Park and Touring Car, round 2. Welcome back to our coverage of the Speed World Challenge. Now we take you to New Jersey Motorsports Park, round 2 of the Touring Car Championship, presented by ExpressJet. Here is a look at the starting grid. And once again, the newly implemented coin toss has played a key role. So we want to go back and show you what happened.
Gentlemen, this is round 2 for touring cars at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Kuno Whitmer, you sit on the pole. You'll call this coin in the air. If you win the coin toss, everything stays the same. If you lose the coin toss, the grid inverts. Are you ready? Call it in the air.
Heads.
Tails it is. The grid inverts, ladies and gentlemen.
And it looks like a visit to the optometrist is in line for you, Tom.
It's the bifocal issue. Let's take a look at New Jersey Motorsports Park, a relatively new course, and this course is technical. It goes left and right a whole bunch of times, but there are a couple of areas where you're pretty much flat out in a touring car. This is one of them, setting up to one of the great passing zones here in this 90-degree left. Now, this is when you're on and off the throttle and up and down through the gearbox. The Toyo tires are going to play a role in this. Of course, these Toyo are AAA tires, a very, very good package for touring cars, but they're going to use all of them. You take a look at Eric Foss at work here as he gets around this course. From this point, it's almost flat out all the way to the start-finish line. This is going to be a great opportunity to show what touring cars can really do.
Let's get right to the starting grid. Remember the inversion, so P.D. Cunningham will start up front. The top 5 invert. So there you see row 2. We go back to row number 3 where your actual pole sitter, Kuno Whitmer, is. And it's interesting, a lot of the real-time drivers here have experience on this track. A number of the other drivers don't. Andrew Aquilani, who you just saw, does, of course. The race shop is only 75 miles away. And so they've got experience, and we're going to see how that might play out here as we go back a little bit further in the grid. There is the green flag indicating the grid is clear. Kathy Mallett clears the track. Lights come on. When they go out, we go racing. Round 2, touring cars about to unfold. There we go. Andrew Aquilani, the all-wheel drive Subaru, gets a great launch, and I think that's Seth Thomas, one of the top qualifiers, totally dead stick. Something has let go on that gear wrench Bimmerworld BMW, and I don't think he's moving at all right now, Tom.
You know, a real hard launch on those rear tires, and sometimes these BMWs will break a half shaft. That is undoubtedly what happened to Seth Thomas. The winner from Sebring in the last round. This is not good for Seth Thomas.
But on the upside, Andrew Aquilani qualified 8th, was not affected by the inversion, but man, did he get a launch. He's 3rd. And there's the bad news. Thomas needing assistance just to get that car off the track. There is a look at that Phoenix Performance. Subaru of Aquilani jumps to 3rd. Meanwhile, P.D. Cunningham and the number 74 of Jason Saney are at it already up front.
Andrew Aquilani slots into 3rd place, and that brilliant start got a very important job done. He's around Kuno Whitmer, and Kuno Whitmer, very, very tough and a very technical driver. He's a Canadian driver, and he's used to courses that are very similar to this at New Jersey. He races at Mont Tremblant, Motorsports, which is not only fast but technical, and Shannonville Motorsports Park. Kuno Whitmer is right at home here at New Jersey Motorsports Park.
Got a good look there at Aquilani. And as we open the shot up, a car that you're going to see come into the frame as well, right behind Whitmer, is Charles Espinlaub. That is a driver, the second of those blue and white tri-point Mazdas, who had a simply miserable race at Sebring, and happy to see him. A great qualifying effort, qualified 2nd quick, inverted to 4th, and still right in the hunt. But P.D. Cunningham leads, and look at Andrew Aquilani, looks outside, then inside, then pops back outside, and down the inside, 3 abreast. Is that the 36 of James Clay? And off course, as goes Pierre Kleinhubing, who also this race has stepped over into one of the new build real-time racing Acuras. Boy, that was an exciting moment right there. James Clay going way down to the inside, Tom.
And now it's Nick Kasayan who shortcuts the course and pops out in front of one of the real-time cars. I believe that's Toby Grohovic, who had a windshield full of Nick Kasayan all of a sudden. Didn't expect to see that coming. Very, very busy opening lap here at Thunderbolt Raceway, New Jersey.
P.D. Cunningham leads, chased by Jason Saney, then Aquilani, then Whitmer, and then just a little bit of a gap back to Espinlaub and Foss. And let's hop on board now as we take a look from the start, the opening lap, with James Clay.
James Clay nearly gets collected up by Pierre Kleinhubing, and you can see what a brilliant start Andrew Aquilani gets. And now they go 3 wide in front of him. Where does James Clay go here? He'll just follow along on the inside. And now you can see Andrew Aquilani still in the battle, and there it starts to all go pear-shaped for James Clay as he gets blocked by Espinlaub. And there goes Kleinhubing down the inside.
A little bit of contact earlier as well between Espinlaub and Whitmer, so boy, the bump and grind of touring cars living up to the promise here.
James Clay now settling in, trying to figure out a way around this new real-time car driven by Pierre Kleinhubing. As you can see, they're dropping tires every now and again, and the dust in this brand new racetrack is ubiquitous. It gets all over the place, and there's actually a little hang in the cabin every time the car goes through the dust. It will become a factor as we go. James Clay now up to speed, going up and down through the gearbox, virtually welded to the bumper of that number 42 car of Pierre Kleinhubing.
One of the upsides is the debut of World Challenge here last year was pretty much a rainy, cold affair, and at least this race is dry, so you don't have all of that junk coming onto the track and wet on top of it.
Well, don't count on that, because a lot of guys are going off and on. The track is not what it started out to be after this first lap. We're staying on for a full lap with James Clay. And remember, at the end of the straightaway, this is where he had the big moment with Pierre Kleinhubing. So coming off the corner now, he's in 4th gear, moving up into top gear now, well over 120 miles an hour, and down into turn number 1.
Kleinhubing defends as Kleinhubing is wont to do, and here's where it all got interesting. And you can see Kleinhubing spears off, Clay goes right with him.
You know, sometimes it's better not to turn the wheel, just to go straight off the track and try not to spin that car. That's exactly what James Clay did. Comes back on the track, and now he gets a face full of Nick Kasayan, and Nick Kasayan goes off on the inside. What an opening lap.
Well, touring car excitement at its peak. We'll be back. Welcome back to New Jersey Motorsports Park, second round of the Speed World Challenge Touring Car Championship. Greg Kramer, along with Tom Natchew and P.D. Cunningham, continues to lead in the Redline Oil Real-Time Racing Acura, chased hard by Jason Saney in the Tri-Point Mazda Speed Mazda, and the Phoenix Performance Subaru with that great start, still right in the hunt. That is your current podium. And Saney, way over the curbs, trying to figure a way to get by Petey Cunningham and another of the Gear Wrench Bimmer World BMWs getting a little bit off track. Those guys have been busy, Tom.
Well, that's exactly where Nick is saying think the course goes. If you had it his way, you haven't paid there, and you do a lot faster lap.
Oh, and Tom, look at this. Saney has worked him over and is now at least alongside Petey Cunningham. He's on the outside, though, and Cunningham with that inside line makes it work. But Jason Saney and that Mazda are hooked up. Let's go on board and check it out with Andrew Aquilani.
You can see both of these guys giving each other room to run. Two real professionals here in World Challenge with an opportunist in back. Look at Andrew Aquilani trying to figure out a way to get by both these guys.
Yeah, how can this work for me?
Why
That's
not?
what he's thinking. Absolutely best seat in the house for what's surely to be a great battle, as Saney does look at this point to be just a little bit quicker than Petey does in that Acura. Kuno Whitmer sits right there in fourth, then Espenlaub in fifth, and Eric Foss takes four wheels into the grass, trying to find a little more speed. Seems to be a line that people like. And look at this, Aquilani now trying to get down inside Saney, but Saney has thoughts of trying to do the same to Cunningham. He may have it this time. He does. Cunningham cannot turn to the apex. Saney is through, and now Aquilani's going to give it a try. Petey says no thanks.
Let's take a look at it from Andrew Aquilani's point of view as we go into replay here. You can see that Peter Cunningham sees that Jason's gone through and chooses not to hit him. Meanwhile, Andrew Aquilani is very, very hungry. That young man wants through, Greg.
The problem for Aquilani is Whitmer is right there as well, and as Aquilani makes a move or tries to swing out wide, Kuno, right here in the Acura, may be thinking, well, I'm just going to stuff it down the inside. So Aquilani's racing forward, but I think he's got his eyes pretty well glommed into those mirrors as well. Then Espenlaub completes your top five, but Saney, a great pass. Petey Cunningham, as you said, some great aware driving right there. And here's Charles Espenlaub, who has got to be just thrilled to be running clean after what happened to him at Sebring. A little bit of lock up there, but that's that unloaded inside rear tire, isn't it?
You know, the torsional rigidity of these cars is remarkable, and when the body starts to roll, it'll actually pick up a tire, and sometimes when they're on the brakes, trail braking into a corner, you'll actually see that wheel stop, and you see a little bit of smoke coming from these tires each time they touch down. That's just the normal course of things with a World Challenge car. It's kind of interesting, Greg. We've got old and new. We've got the new spec cars, two of them in the top five, and three of last year's spec cars. This blend seems to be really working out when you've got the new spec car, which has the stock suspension points, racing on a par with the old cars. Here comes Andrew Aquilani again, Greg.
And he's going to try that inside move, and Petey this time maybe not quite so generous as he was with Saney. He knew that Aquilani wasn't quite far enough along the inside, and this time shut the door, and Aquilani showing a bit of experience there as well, and also some self-preservation.
He's a 21-year-old guy, but he's got lots of racing experience. He's done national racing. He's been a runoff champion in SCCA racing, so his experience belies his age. This is going to be one of America's great racing drivers in a few more years.
And you're watching Eric Foss here, of course, last year's 08 MX5 champion, and he actually finished second right here at this raceway, so he's got some very recent and quick experience at this track and is right now firmly ensconced in the top 10, trying to make his way up through the pack, sitting in the 7th spot. And there's a look at teammate Espenlaub. The three-car tri-point attack is on it, and on it is not exactly the case for some of the drivers, as Kleinubing dropping a tire as well, as he is trying to fend off the attack of Eric Foss. Again, you see a bit of that lockup. Let's check in and learn about Eric.
The best thing for me this season is the fact that Mazda is supporting me because of the Mazda ladder system and put me with Team Tri-Point Engineering. They won the championship in 2007, and these guys have made it a really easy transition for me and really helping me out here. Once again, being a rookie, I still make some of those big mistakes, but these guys have been more than cordial to me even when I do things wrong.
Well, one, they know he's a talented young driver, and two, they love to teach and work and help a young driver come along, especially one that shows such promise, and Foss unquestionably does. Aquilani now taking a look at Petey Cunningham, and he may have it done this time. Boy, deep into the turn, and I think he's got it, or does he? No, Petey, you could just see the mirror off to the left, and Petey comes across. Petey gets crossed up, but hangs on to it. Oh no, and for Espinlab, another trip down pit lane.
Holy smoke, this is
unbelievable.
bad news for Charles Espinlab. Such a competitive driver, and that is a great car. 2 races in a row now, he's made a call to pit lane. And Greg Kramer, if you make a call to pit lane in World Challenge, you're done. There's no room for tire changing. There's no room for fuel. They've got the hood up on that thing. Charles Espinlab's hopes of a win here at New Jersey just goes out the window. Let's hope they can get that thing fixed and at least get him back out there.
All right, meanwhile, Saney now starting to catch some traffic, gets around Carl Hober, and so does Cunningham and Aquilani, so no real effect there. And to get back to the school and the clinic thing, when we talk about this being a good school, we're talking postgraduate doctoral thesis level studies here. This is good stuff. When you get drivers, like you said, Klein-Newbin, Cunningham, Espinlab et al., that is a pretty stout group.
And you can't phone it in. It's not the University of Arizona. You actually have to come to class and do the work if you're going to get the degree.
Yeah, but this is one of those classes that you like to get up for.
Well, absolutely. And, proper attendance is mandatory. From the top of the tower, you can see the Tri-Point Engineering spotter there. Very handy spot to look, and they're watching the progress of Jason Saney. He's the leader. Saney, Cunningham, Aquilante, Mazda, Acura, and Subaru up front, and there's a big gap now building back to the number 44 car of Kuno Whitmer. There is a shot of Charles Espinlab. He's going to make it back out onto the circuit.
Report is a broken shift linkage, so that Tri-Point crew, an amazing job getting that car put together. He's only going to lose a lap and a little bit more, so nicely done by that team. Meanwhile, as they continue to prove how good they are, Jason Saney continues to lead over Cunningham. But we've talked a little bit, Tom, about the new rules package. You can still run an old spec, if you will, car with the new spec. It's a bit of a mix and match.
Sure, and you're going to pay with weight. If you're going to use one of the old spec cars, you're going to add some weight. They're going to restrict the amount of air that goes into the engine. But if you build a new spec car, the whole idea is cost containment. You can build a new spec car for about 60% of the value of an old spec car.
And the plan, of course, to ensure the future health of the series, and we want to keep this one around. We'll be back. Welcome back to Thunderbolt Raceway, which is half of this marvelous New Jersey Motorsports Park complex. Great to have you with us for round 2 of the Speed World Challenge Touring Car Championship. A little bit further back in the pack, Toby Grahovic, who is another of the real-time racing drivers this season. He also has some previous experience here at this track, so he's trying to put that to good use right now. And behind him is Charles Espinlab with a now healthy Tri-Point Mazda after that quick repair. Down a lap, of course, but still trying to race.
Grahovic's doing a great job keeping Charles Espinlab behind him, at least for the time being. Let's go back up to the front now, and you see Jason Saney building a little bit of a gap over this duo, and now Andrew Aquilante goes to the left to try to look around the outside of Peter Cunningham. He knows darn well he's not going to get it done there, but he's showing Peter a little left and a little right, trying to set up this turn. Greg, it looks like if it's going to happen for Andrew, it's going to happen in turn 1.
Well, certainly one of the strengths of that all-wheel drive Subaru is launch out of a slower turn, so if he can really maximize that, then catch the draft, that would be certainly a strong point. But as he and Petey are dicing it up, there's a guy sitting in 4th who's probably pretty interested in moving up and joining that group. That is Kuno Whitmer, another of the real-time drivers who, remember, actually qualified fastest here. He's just going to pop into your screen right about there, and Kuno has embraced World Challenge. We asked him why.
The competition is so fierce. You look at other touring car series, and we are among the best touring car series in the world. We're so fierce. We're 15 to 20 to 25 cars at some events, and we're just so close to competition. When you could calculate from 1st to 15th within a second, that is so tight. There's potentially 15 guys that could win every single event. I mean, how much tighter do you want to get it? It's unbelievable.
And this is exactly an example of it. This great battle for second between PD and, again, in an Acura. And then you've got a Subaru in the mix. You've got a Mazda leading. And as Kuno said, Tom, these grids are incredibly closely packed.
He's absolutely right. Very, very often you have 15 cars all within a single second. And that's a real tribute to the rules makers here. They've got it figured out, and this has been going on for a number of years. There you see Andrew Aquilante. He's clearly quick enough to pull up alongside. He's never going to make a pass there from the outside of turn number 1, but he's made his statement, Greg. He's shown Peter Cunningham that he's there and he's not going away.
Well, and Petey, obviously, he's trying to get the message to Petey. One mistake and I'm through. The problem is with Petey's experience, those mistakes are very few and far between. And this is going to frustrate Aquilani. It'll be interesting to see how this young driver, especially very new to World Challenge, handles this, not being able to get by. Does he try and force the issue? This is going to be one of those moments that can define your season.
Yeah, Andrew Aquilante ended up at Sebring in his GT car with a little damage, and he tried to force the issue with that. I'm sure his father, Joe, was not entirely happy about that, but that shows the seasoning that this young 21-year-old driver has. He's run side by side with PD a couple of different times, and they haven't touched yet, and PD by now is beginning to trust Andrew Aquilante. This is really cool. You've got the best of experience, one of the best drivers in North America, with a brand new driver in the championship, and these guys are racing each other with respect.
And Petey carries that number 1 on the door for good reason. The defending series champion, and it was his 5th. And so right now, Aquilani has an opportunity, following Petey around, not just racing him, but following him, to learn from the absolute best. And one of the things with this new build car, built to the new, more stock specs, that Petey is very high on, he says the car really handles remarkably well. This time now, Aquilani looks to the inside. Well, he learned his lesson, and looks like he may have made it stick. Watch the left side of your screen. Yes, indeed. He couldn't exit all the way out because Petey was there, and the two of them, that is as close as it gets, Tom.
How does Cunningham keep doing that? Andrew Aquilani clearly threw in the outside. Peter Cunningham never lifts, just drives and uses that experience to just move on by. That was absolutely unbelievable, Greg.
Well, Petey knows where it's got grip, and he just lets apparently that car float a little bit wider in, which gives you a little bit better entry speed. You open that entry up, doesn't it, Tom? And Aquilani, to his credit, as we talked about, is not giving him the chrome horn.
He's not giving him the chrome horn. He's got to be thinking, Greg, what do I have to do to get by this guy? This is really, really great action up front. Now here's Kuno Whitmer joined by Pierre Kleinubing. This is the battle for 4th. These two guys, new spec car, old spec car, also a very interesting battle out on the course.
And once again, that bit of battling between Petey and Aquilani has not only let Saney open that gap up, the margin has increased, it has allowed these two, Whitmer and Kleinubing, to close it up just a little bit. So that's, again, the nature of the momentum in touring car racing. Jason Saney, what a great story he is. In 07, won the Mazda MX-5 Cup. Mazda, with their ladder that we've heard drivers talk about, said, we're going to put you into the top flight team, and Tri-Point promptly reels off a pole and win at Miller in one of his early races, Rookie of the Year, and now is an established star.
He said that, he used to sit and watch touring car races. All he ever wanted to do was drive a touring car. Now he's living the dream, and he has an opportunity to rack up one more win as Andrew Aquilani takes one more look down the inside, and I think he may have resigned himself to the fact that he's going to stand on the podium, but he's going to stand on the 3rd step.
Well, and Petey that time was just a little bit more effective out of that corner, leading onto that front straight. Aquilani couldn't get quite as close, and now it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Meanwhile, watch this battle behind them as Whitmer under huge attack. Big pressure from the 12-year veteran of the real-time squad, Pierre Kleinubing, one of the absolute best in the business. Kuno no slouch, and these two are going to go at it.
They don't have the problem as if they were racing with Peter Cunningham. I mean, how do you actually pass the boss? These guys, there's no team orders. They're going to go at it, and they're going to go at it clean. They're having a lot of fun out there, Greg.
And I think the fact that you've got, as you said, one of the older cars, which is much more modified, one of the newer cars, which is much more stock, racing like this, tell you what, the technical people at SCCA Pro Racing and World Challenge have really come up with a great battle.
Darn tootin'. They can check off that box. Job well done, guys. With the final stages of the last lap here at New Jersey Motorsports Park, and Jason Saney, as even though we continue to stay with his battle, has an opportunity to put another one in the win column. There he is, Jason Saney, the number 74 Tri-Point Engineering car, working his way back up under the Subaru Bridge and across the start-finish line. There it is. Tri-Point Engineering marks their first win of 2009.
What a great run by Saney, and absolutely a perfect drive. Didn't put a wheel wrong, and had that great battle with Petey Cunningham in the early going, and it pays off big. And Andrew Aquilani gets his first podium in only his 3rd World Challenge start. That, folks, is pretty impressive stuff as well. And we'll be back with Victory Circle right after this. Welcome back to Victory Circle here at New Jersey Motorsports Park, and Jason Saney, 2nd career win and a very impressive one at that as he wheels that Tri-Point Mazda into victory circle. Very special moment indeed. The team, of course, incredibly happy with this one. There's such an intense manufacturer battle in the championship as well. This plays into it, and let's listen in to Jason Saney.
You know, Tri-Point's just done such an awesome job to pull this car together. You know, they worked hard, and we made it better and better every session. And, man, it was the best car I've ever driven in the race. It was just fantastic. You know, I had a great battle with Peter there in the beginning, and, you know, everything. The tires were awesome. I did a fast lap at the end, and it was just a great car, best I've driven.
Well, that says an awful lot coming from that Tri-Point crew. Let's take a look at the points, and with that win, Saney jumps into the points lead. Kleinubing and Thomas, boy, who knows if that half shaft wouldn't have snapped. Manufacturer points Acura just in front of Mazda, and BMW now has a little bit of work to do, but with that Bimmerworld Durange team, they're going to be right back in it as well. Speaking of back in it, our next show is going to keep us out east. We'll be right back here to New Jersey Motorsports Park for the next round of GT, and then we will go to daunting Mossport for touring cars. Thanks so much for joining us. Take care, everybody.